That's it. The middle class, once the backbone of the best customers for car manufacturers, is facing a very, very harsh reality. One can no longer afford a new car. Mobility is increasingly becoming a luxury good. Today, we will calculate exactly how much you need to earn if you want to afford something from the Golf to a Toyota mid-range SUV to a Mercedes C-Class and beyond. And with that, welcome to Northern Finance. My name is Alex Black. A new report shows the significant price jumps in new cars, which have reached a 50-year high. And not only absolutely in euros, but as we can see here, also in the ratio of income to new car prices. In 1974, the cost still accounted for 38% of an average annual income for a car. Today we have reached 80%. More than a doubling of costs relative to income in the last 50 years. Cars have thus become significantly more expensive in relation. There is no doubt about that. Expressed in euros, the average new car price has risen from 28,000 euros in 2014 to 36,000 euros in 2020, and in the latest data for 2023 to 44,600 euros. This is also confirmed by the data here from Statista, which show the price development in more detail, starting from 1980 to 2023. And that is also why most people finance their car purchase through a loan, as we can see quite clearly here. About 38% of all new cars are financed for customers, and only 32% buy their car in cash using their own savings. And even those looking for used cars, because they are somewhat cheaper, pay almost more money for them on average each year than in the previous year, as we can see here since 2014. But there are also exceptions to this average. For example, I bought my car, this older Suzuki Grand Vitara SUV, in 2020 in Cyprus for a price of 4,300 euros with about 100,000 highest kilometers at that time. And yet, 20 years old. But since then, I have only had one unscheduled visit to the workshop, and I still drive around with it. I am very happy with it, and given the current price development, I will continue to drive it until the car can no longer function or a repair is no longer worth it. Because all of this is personally too expensive for me, and I prefer to stick with the simple things I have. Here we see in a current report from mobile.de, the maintenance costs associated with a car are usually significantly higher than one might think. In this example, it's a VW Golf 8. We have here the new car price as well as the depreciation per month after 5 years, and it doesn't matter whether you sell the car or simply keep it, and then the car is worth less, along with all the other costs you can expect, which leads to a total of 688 euros in costs per month for this relatively simple car. This is not a large luxury vehicle, I would say. This is important to know, because now we come to the 24-10 rule. This is a rule that states that when buying a car, you should always make a down payment of 20% of the purchase price, while the term of the loan itself should not exceed 4 years, and you should not spend more than 10% of your monthly income. This way, you can easily see if you can really afford your desired car without getting into financial trouble. The last part is very important, because as we can see here, the average term for car loans in most cases is not 4 years, meaning 48 months, but 84 months, or 8 years. This is desired by many car salespeople, as it allows them to lower the monthly payment, and on the other hand, it suggests to the customer that they could easily afford the car. And thirdly, the bank will earn much more money with the financing if the term is longer, as they can earn nearly double the interest that way. And currently, an average interest rate of 6.3% is charged for 2/3 of all customers for car loans, which is a reliable average value here. So let's take a look at our first example calculation for a simple car, VW Golf, in the 2024 version. The base model costs 27,180 euros, and we will enter that into our loan calculator here. After that, we make our down payment of 20%, which is 5,430 euros. Enter the current interest rate here. And the term, we have to pay 512 euros per month for the VW Golf here for 4 years and spend a total of 2,800 euros for this car loan. If we were to break our 20-40-10 rule now and finance it over 8 instead of 4 years, the installments would be 319 euros per month, which may seem somewhat more affordable, but the interest costs nearly double to over 5,000 euros over the entire term. The longer term seems cheaper, but it is actually significantly more expensive for you. If we want to stick to our rule and spend a maximum of 10% of our income on the car, we would need to earn at least 5,120 euros net per month in the household, without considering the costs for fuel, insurance, vehicle tax, repairs, and so on. As we can see, it is already difficult for an average earner to afford even the entry-level models of new cars, if not impossible, to be honest. But let's move on. A mid-range SUV from Toyota, the RAV4. A nice car, I must say, that costs 40,990 euros in the base version. We will also assume this price here, even though it is just the base model, but you can of course adjust and increase or decrease it for yourself. We just want to calculate with the sum, regardless of which car you ultimately want, just so we have a reference, a cheap, mid-range and more expensive car. And if you like this video, please give me a like and subscribe for more. Let's enter the costs of the Toyota here, as well as our down payment. Then we get a monthly installment of 771 euros and loan costs of 4,200 euros for a 4-year term, for a total of 45,250 euros in total costs for this car. If we were to break our rule here again and finance it over 8 years instead of just 4, the monthly installment would still be 480 euros, which is still very, very much, and we have 7,600 euros in loan costs over the entire term. If we want to stick to our rule, we need to earn 7,610 euros net per month to afford this mid-range SUV without any problems. Quite crazy, right? So this is a mid-range car, but you definitely need an upper-class salary if it shouldn't put a financial strain on you. Now we come to the third and final example with a Mercedes-Benz C-Class car for 61,300 euros in a basic equipment variant again. You can also choose a different car now. For us, we only care about the purchase price. With this price and a down payment of 20%, meaning 12,260 euros, we arrive at a monthly installment of more than 150 euros and loan costs of over 6,300 euros over the entire term. Here too, we could theoretically break our rule and finance it over 8 instead of 4 years, and would still end up with a monthly payment of 714 euros and loan costs of more than 11,000 euros. Crazy, when you have to consider how long you actually need to invest to earn 11,000 euros in interest and dividends, and to adhere to the 24/10 rule. You must earn at least 11,500 euros in the household per month to be able to afford a C-Class here without any problems. Completely crazy in my eyes, but not because you have to earn so much to not have a problem with the expected monthly car cost, but because car prices have risen so sharply. As initially mentioned, to 80% of an annual average income, which was only 38% of the average income 50 years ago. And since the average net household income in Germany is 3,800 euros per month, the average family can't even afford a new VW Golf here, which, as mentioned, costs 512 euros per month, and would thus significantly exceed the 10% threshold. Of course, you can still buy the car with the income and just make it work, but the chance is high that the car will financially burden and strain you significantly more than one actually imagined and can perhaps afford. And then you have no reason to be happy when driving the car, but rather to despair, one must say, when you constantly have to think about the costs. That is certainly not nice. The middle class can no longer afford a new car unless one goes into debt significantly longer than is financially good for them personally. And I personally also say, I won't buy a new car. I prefer to drive around in my old car because it also gets me to my destination, and that is the most important thing. And even off-road really well, which makes it even more fun for me. And even if I need a new car someday, I would very likely buy a used car again, because I simply don't see the point in spending more than 10% of my income on something like that. The car should bring you as much joy as possible and not cost you 20-30% of your net income and force you to work for the car. What is your opinion on the 24/10 rule and the sharply increased prices of new cars? Is a new car still interesting for you? Say it in the comments below. I look forward to the exchange, and with that, I wish you a good return and see you next time.